Well, hello, one.
Oh,
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Terrence.
I'm Angelica. Welcome to the Vision for Us podcast. You don't jack that all up. We don't have this down pack, y'all. Anyway, welcome to the Vision for Us podcast. We are the Prathers, and he wants us to be so uncut, raw.
Yep.
So we're keeping everything in. So we hope you guys can laugh with us as we get into today's topic. How are you today, mister?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing very well. Ain't nobody want to hear you cackling in their ears.
I got giggles. Oh, Mr. Giggles over here. I need to calm down.
Yes, calm it down. Calm it down. Well, we're really excited to join you guys on another episode of the Vision for Us podcast.
Yes, we are.
We have a really good topic for you guys.
Wait a minute. You just want to jump right
I
into
do.
the topic.
Because it's like, get to the point.
No, let's not get straight to the point. The whole point is to have conversation.
Okay. Y'all put in the chat for those who are watching if you like when we get straight to it or you like the little bantering. Let us know in the chat.
Okay.
All right.
So,
because we're here for them.
I understand that. We're here for them, but we're also, this is for us.
That is true.
So,
all right.
So, yeah, we're here for them, but this is more so for us.
Okay. We're here to serve them.
Right.
Okay.
So, anywho.
What would you like to discuss before we get into the topic?
About yesterday.
Yes. Yesterday, we went to our kids' holiday party.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this around right before Christmas. So if you're watching this either after or now, whenever it releases, we went to our kids' holiday party.
Which was December 19th.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, well, I got to tell you a story first. Story time. Okay. Terrence and I have shared with our kids the truth about like the whole Santa thing, right? And since they were born, he wasn't really big into the whole Santa. You didn't grow up with that.
No.
I grew up in church, and so they would always say Jesus is the reason for the season. And they didn't really, I don't remember or recall any conversations around like Santa. It was really more Christ focused.
Mm-hmm.
But they did not make us believe or really have detailed conversations as I could remember. I'm not sure, but my mom was like, under the tree, we would have gifts before even Christmas. So I was very aware that as well. Anyway, I was taking the kids to the bus and it was like 7:20 in the morning. And with that being said,
you didn't get enough rest.
I didn't get enough rest. And when I don't get enough rest, I have an attitude. I was trying my best. I had just prayed. I was trying my best to like get in a better mood, but I just was not in a good mood. I try not to take that out on my kids. Anyway, to make a long story short, we're walking to the bus stop. My son is singing this Christmas jingle over and over and over. I said, please, I can't. Just stop singing, right? And
so now you want to kill his joy, but when I tell him to stop singing, let him sing, let his light shine.
Okay, yes. But this, I mean, it was the same, like, not even 3 bars. It was just the same, like, it was on a loop. And I asked him nicely. I didn't ask him with an attitude. Okay. You sound really harsh to me, but I digress. So we get to the bus stop. I'm standing kind of further from the kids and letting them just kind of mingle with their friends. And all of a sudden I hear Journey is like, Santa is not real, to all of the kids at the bus stop. And then it becomes, and Janice was like, yep. He's like, yep, he's not real. And it became this thing at the bus stop. And the kids are like, yes, he is real. And there are some parents, one mom, her face just like dropped. Like, what do I do? First of all, it's 7:20 in the morning. No parent is really up and alert. It's freezing cold outside and they're having this debate. So then Journey, I whisper in her ear and I said, there are families that believe in things that we don't believe. And she's like, but it's a lie. And I said, yes, it is a lie. But she's like, so parents lie to their children. And I'm like, I don't really have an answer for this child right now because I'm half asleep, to just be honest. But I said, we'll discuss it when you get home. But she hit me up with this question. She was like, so people say they don't believe in God because they can't see him, but they believe in Santa Claus when they can't see him either. And it was such a powerful question, but I still didn't have it to give y'all. So I was like, we gonna discuss it when your daddy get home. Well, I mean, when y'all get home and we'll sit down with them and have the conversation. But we did leave out, don't discuss.
No, I don't care about don't discuss.
Yes.
I don't know. It's the truth.
It is the truth.
So I'm not going to sit there and tell my kids not to discuss with other kids what's untrue. I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, and kudos to those who are a little different, right? We're just trying to raise our kids to be bold, to be unapologetic, to stand in the truth, which the Word of God is the truth for us. And I believe that, people say, oh, I want them to have a magical or whatever it is that you want them to believe in. I just think it sends a bad message to the kids because we tell them.
Right. You tell them that Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy and unicorns, all of this stuff is real, or you don't let them know that it's not real.
Yeah. But
so then when they get to a certain age, 9, 10 years old, and then you finally sit them down and tell them, oh, it's not real. Then they're looking at you like you've been lying to me this whole time.
Yeah, and we're like, never lie to me, but you are teaching them how to lie.
You set the tone.
Yeah, and then it's that, oh, but it's a magical white lie. No, you're actually lying. And you're playing into this fantasy instead of just saying, we are Santa Claus. We don't even play Santa Claus. We're your parents. We're blessing you with some things. We want to share the gift of giving.
Your gifts come from your parents, your grandparents, people who love you.
Yeah, but I also think they don't teach kids how to give because it's all about them and how naughty or nice you are. So I have to stay in these brackets. If I'm naughty, then I don't get anything. And then when I'm nice, I get stuff. I just think it just sends a bad message all the way around. So we just decided not to play that with them because we understand we are raising they're children, and we want to keep the difference. We were talking yesterday, and I was like, there's a difference between keeping them pure and innocent and then equipping them. And I think that parents are missing that, in my opinion.
I agree.
And I think we mix up purity for equipping. And we're saying we're stripping them down their innocence. If you gave your kid a phone at 7, you already stripped them from their purity.
You stripped them.
So you're giving them access to the world and like, oh, I can manage it all. Trust me, these kids are today, they have access to things that we did not have access to. And so I've seen 7-year-olds with phones. I've seen 6-year-olds with phones. We decided a long time ago that they were not going to have any tablets any longer. So that's just what works for us.
And that's just tablets. We ain't not even getting in the conversation about them having phones.
Yeah. So we just don't give them access to tablets. They need to use their imagination. God gave it to them, and then they can grow from there. So that was our going into Christmas time. I don't know when this episode is going to drop, but
Journey was highly upset about her Christmas party.
Oh, yeah. So the Christmas party, y'all, I was the class mom for my son's class, and it was me and another mom. We did a good job. And I just felt like Christmas parties should be, or holiday parties should be enjoyable. They call them holiday parties because there are some people with different religions, backgrounds, but so it's a holiday party. And so they were like, let's get crafts and stuff like that. And those are cute, but you only have 1 hour. So allow them to have fun and enjoy themselves. So one of the things that we did the limbo, we did musical chairs. They did an arts and crafts activity, which they were able to decorate and make a frame. They can give it to their parents. And that was really fun. That hour went by fast. They were dancing. It was music. It felt like a party. And one girl was like, oh my God, this was the best holiday party ever. And that just like made my day. I'm like, yes, because it's not easy entertaining other people's kids. So that was fun. And then the next hour we had to go to Journey's party. Journey was not having it because she is team celebrate.
Basically doing the same thing they do all day in school.
All day, sitting down, no festive. It wasn't festive. It wasn't enjoyable. So she loves to celebrate. So she was highly disappointed. So her dad said,
we're going to do a Christmas party here,
which we always do, like a dance party. We do stuff. We're kind of like fun and interactive. So we try to do those things. So yes, that was into our holiday celebration. So that was that. But it was fun. It was good. The beautiful thing is to see a lot of parents. Like there's always a lot of moms, so you don't see a lot of dads usually. But we did see quite a few dads, and that was really cool. I love seeing that.
Yep.
So that was fun. So that was our start of our holiday season before they get out of school.
But we didn't bring you on for that.
Yes. So today's topic is going to be the top mistakes couples make when starting a business together.
Ooh.
Yes.
We've made plenty.
Yes. And I thought it was a good topic for us because those who, whenever this episode airs, you're probably either starting a business or you're like, I'm fired up. You guys are at the cusp of making a decision. Mm-hmm. But before you start anything, there are easy mistakes to be made because these are the top things that no one really discusses. And so I wanted to bring this to you. So my first point is assuming your partner thinks like you. Because you both could be starting a business. You're both excited. And that looks like alignment because you're both excited.
Right.
But how do you measure alignment with how someone thinks? So these are things that like people fail to talk about. Their differences up front before even starting the business.
Okay.
And then I think it's very dangerous to not talk about how, like, assuming that you think the same way I think.
Yeah, it is very dangerous.
It's the most dangerous thing going into a business together because we do not think
just
the
in
same.
the business, in relationship,
and marriage,
in marriage in
we
general.
are talking about the business.
Okay, we're talking about the business.
Talking about the
right.
business. So, for instance, like our communication styles completely different. Our decision making, where we make decision, I think that's something when we're talking about how assuming that the person thinks like you, business brings out a totally different character within someone. I know for me, yes, I was in entrepreneurship, but I even talked to you about like how I went into it, how I would sometimes make decisions from a place of more practicality. I wasn't a big risk taker.
Yeah.
Where for you, he's like, let's dive in, which is good, but you need to, I couldn't assume that because I've been running entrepreneurship for, being in the entrepreneurship game for so long, that you were just going to get on board the way I think. You challenged a lot of the things.
I did challenge a lot of the things and still kind of do till this day. Well, not kind of do, but still do till this day.
So what are some of the things that irritate you of how I think when it comes to business?
I would say not more of a risk taker type. You want everything to be in order. And you want to make a wise decision.
Yes.
Which you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Whereas for me, I'm more so like, let's just dive in and see where it takes us. And then, if it doesn't, end well, we'll figure it out together, which we've done.
and we're figuring it out together.
And now I understand completely if you don't sit down and have a real conversation and play on each other's strengths and take a look at the whole situation as a whole and figure out how's this going to help not just the business, but how's this going to help or how's this going to affect the family.
Facts.
So, but then again, that goes back to not really having a vision for our whole family as a whole, because if you take the aspect of money, and I think when you base a lot of, for me, I base a lot of my decision making off of, I don't want to be at a certain place at a certain age, or I want to be able to give my kids, which I'm already doing that, but I want to give my kids more than what I had growing up, which I'm already in that place, but even more. Yeah. Or setting up. I think I come from a place more so of the risk taking with, we gonna make this amount of money.
Because you're already on the big picture.
I'm already on the big picture. Whereas bringing you along and us sitting down and really taking this each stage and figuring out the risks. Yes. And mitigating the risk as much as possible because of the fact that we have a family.
Yes. And so I think it's very important he doesn't think the way I think, but if we would have had very clear conversations in the beginning, also like his work ethic, what is his work ethic versus my work ethic? Because I have a less is more approach and he's like a go he's military. So it's like, we go until the wheels fall off. I'm not doing that. And we didn't have that conversation about our work ethics. And so how does that look together, creating a new dynamic? I don't stay up late. I don't function well. Y'all just heard me tell you that I had an attitude. He can do fine with 6 hours, even 4, sometimes 5 hours of sleep. That doesn't work. So understanding, having that conversation, the goal is so that when you have this conversation, you can't assume. And I think assumptions get us in a lot of troubles. I assumed that, okay, if it didn't work, you was going to go get a job. I assumed that. We didn't discuss that, right? So I'm like, okay, if we're starting this business, we invested this amount of money.
Right.
And if we don't have a ROI by whatever, you're going to go get any job to sustain us while we're still building. He had a different mindset.
I did. I had a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think you should, to put things in retrospect, I already have an income coming in monthly. And it's okay, especially for Georgia. It's a pretty good amount of income per year.
Yeah.
So I feel like after doing the military, I felt and feel after doing the military for so many years, for almost 16 years, that it is, at that time, it's your time to figure out exactly what it is that you want to do.
Yes.
And that was my mind frame in the beginning. Now that we have a vision for our family, and then you kind of understand that no one should have to, how can I put this? No one should have to go, there are going to be some times where you're going to have to do something that you don't want to do. Now, because I have this income, I feel like I have a grace. I have the opportunity to figure out, which I've been figuring out, and now finally gotten to a place where I figured out what I want to do. If I'm going to go work for somebody else, right? And those are the type of jobs that you go after. So it's not that I didn't want to work. There are just certain things that I feel like I shouldn't have to do, because I do have a good income that comes in to provide.
Yeah. And so that assumption, my assuming without communicating was the problem.
Right.
Because I was assuming he should just know this. He should see, that the business is not picking up fast enough. I'm putting all the effort in, but we're not getting an ROI. So those are the things that, like, you need to be very clear. Okay, don't assume anything, because the thing about getting into entrepreneurship is it exposes love is not enough.
Right.
Right. We love each other. That's not the issue at all. But if I keep assuming that he's thinking this way because I'm feeling this way, or my body language is saying this, we're not supposed to be in mind reading moments, especially in business. Like, it has to be very clear. So I think you guys need to talk about the things that worry you going into this. Like, be very, very clear.
And then if you already have a career or already have a job or something like that, don't quit the job before. I'm not saying quit the job or anything like that. Keep the job and then invest in building you guys' future and legacy together.
Facts. So it brings me to my next point. Another mistake that couples make when starting a business.
That couples make, and more than likely we've made as well,
is focusing too much on the business and forgetting the marriage. I don't think we did so bad at this part.
No, I don't think so either.
But I know it's a big one, because I've spoke to people several times, and they're like, everything that comes out of their mouth is business, 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 business. And I found myself becoming that person. I'm like, wah, 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 wah. Like, it was consuming my mind all day, all night. And I'm a firm believer that, to the scripture, that God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And speaking to Mom, which is my mother-in-law, she was saying anything that recites in your mind over and over, at some point it's playing a movie on repeat for a certain purpose, and you got to get that under control. But I was waking up thinking about business, going to bed thinking about business, and it was all wrapped up in the worry and the fear versus God giving me a sound mind. Sound mind means that I am very stable in my decision making. I am very clear. It's not consuming me. And I think that sometimes we see consuming is like, this going to work. Right. But that was from a place of scarcity, in my opinion. I think that you can serve your people very well, or you can get into entrepreneurship with your spouse. But if one is consuming, they want to talk about it all day, all night. That's a problem.
Right. That is. It's a very big problem.
Yeah. And we made it very clear
that we were not going to, or we were going to respect. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't, if an idea just comes to your head, that you can't address your spouse or your spouse with that vision or that idea that you have. But if it's after working hours and your spouse says, "Hey, can we discuss this tomorrow?" Then respect that.
Yeah.
And discuss it the next day during business hours.
You need non-ritual business activities.
Right.
Because if all of the things that you are doing, let's say you're running a brick and mortar, you're with each other all day in that brick and mortar, exchanging conversations about business. Then if you get in your bedroom, you discussing business. You get to the kitchen table, you talking about business. You need activities that is just for you to enjoy, whether that's going for a walk or whether that's playing pickleball, which I've seen a whole bunch of couples over here playing pickleball. I asked him, do he want to play pickleball? He's like, no. Or whether it's playing tennis, you need something that has nothing to do with a business.
I didn't say I wouldn't play pickleball. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe it's just the word pickleball. But yeah, you just need to really figure out what that non-ritual business activity is going to be between you two.
Right.
Even going on dates, like the date should feel fun, and it's like no conversation about business whatsoever. Like you got to keep the business, because if you went to a job, your wife or your husband would ask you, how was your day? You're like, oh, this happened. You'll tell them a little bit of story, maybe a little bit of tea, and then you move on.
Yeah.
You got to do the same thing when it comes to your business. And I think it's very hard because you're in it and the roles don't switch.
Right.
You don't have like that disconnect. It's important that you guys do that.
Yeah. And I think if you be honest with each other and just say at that point in time, if it's not working hours, and you just speak up.
That's right.
And say, hey, I get it. You got ideas coming out of your brain right now. But right now it is 8:00 in the evening and I would like some alone time with my spouse.
Yeah.
Or I would like to just veg out and watch our favorite TV shows. So there's always going to be somebody coming up with ideas.
Yep.
Even at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But the other person on the other end has to be able to address and say, hey, this is not the time right now. This is our time right now, and we're not going to discuss this right now.
Yes. So I read in the book Leadership Not by the Book, and that was a great read.
You read that book?
Yes, I did.
How long did it take you?
It didn't take me long. I read that book in maybe a month.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed it so much.
Okay.
I think it's a great read. I'll link that down below if you guys want to get it. It's a great book. But he was saying, what he was saying was he has like unplugged weekends where he does not do any of his wife. Like he operates in his business, in his gifting, and it's only one part of his business that he loves doing. Like he loves the merchandising. So he does that very well, and everybody else does anything. But he said as soon as his wife calls or she sees him working too much, it's just an unplugged weekend. That means nothing regarding business. And I try to do that on Sundays because I'm like, I don't want to talk about business. I don't care about what's happening.
I don't want to talk about business. I don't want to cook. I don't want to clean. I don't want to do hair. Doing nothing. I don't want to do laundry. I don't want to do
I don't want to do anything. So that means I got 6 days. I really take that Sabbath for real. And then it even got to the point when we were going to like a physical building for church, when they had that Saturday service, I'm like, sign me up. I don't want to even drive on Sunday. I will just spend time with the kids. I'll do fun things with them, but I don't want to have to think. So that means all our prep work as far as cooking, all of those different things allows me to just have one full day of nothing. Now you're a little different.
Yeah.
But when he wants to veg, what you used to do, which was a problem, he was like, it would be a random day. And he's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to. And I'm like, those are the things that we have to discuss. And that was a work issue for me because I'm like, okay, if we're going to work between these days, then work. Right. But it's just like, you just pick a random Wednesday, which is cool. I had a model like fire yourself for the day, but it wasn't something that we discussed.
No, it was nothing that we discussed. And with the high tempo of the military, it takes a long time for people, even if you only did 4 years in the military, it takes a long time to digress or get out of that headspace of move, or when we rest. I digress by saying that I've spent almost 16 years in the Marine Corps, and it was such a fast pace that, you know, now I have the freedom to just woosah, or if I want to veg on a Tuesday, and I'll veg. But we've had conversations where it's like, hey, if we got things to do, we need to go ahead and take care of them. And then too, I like working at the last hour.
Yes.
Like
he likes crunching. I don't like crunching at all.
Yeah.
So those are the things that you have to like put those things on display. He works better under pressure. I don't work good under pressure. I had a speaking engagement one time and I had already did like prep work. And it was one night I had like woke up and I was like, oh, this is the topic. It like came to me and I could not sleep, but I had to get it out. So just got it all out. Little did I know that I was going to get really, really sick after that. I got so sick. Remember, I had a fever.
When was this?
This was, it was about 2 years ago. Remember, it was just you and I. The kids were at the grandparents' house. I got so sick. I had a fever. I think we had COVID.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
He ended up getting sick. I ended up getting sick. So there was no prep for that speech whatsoever. It was like, I looked over my nose. I slept into the last second. We got up and it was a virtual conference. Right. And it was a 3-day conference. So we wanted to kind of like be prepared. But I literally had a fever delivering that. He gave me some medicine. I jumped up, did it, and then that was it. But yeah, and then crashed. So those things I don't like to operate like that, but I had a commitment. I wanted to, show up for the commitment and did that. But I was really sick after that. Like I was done. Yeah. And that was not fun. So you just have to have these really conversations. Like if it was that bad, I didn't know at the time I had COVID, y'all, but if it was that bad, he would have said, we're not doing it. And you're just going to have to live through it. And then that's fine. So it's just, you got to have those uncomfortable conversations.
That you do.
So the next mistake that we made and other couples will make before starting a business is
we hope that you guys won't make.
Why you keep interrupting when I'm in the middle of my...
Because you said that other couples will make, and we're hoping the reason for this is so that they will not make those mistakes.
Okay, he just got to add, right? Avoid the hard conversations about money and risk. We did not do that.
No, we did not.
No.
Not at all.
No. And we have a whole entire episode that's going to be talking about that. So we'll get deeper, but we'll just scratch the surface here because money is... when businesses are making money, it's good, but there's a difference between revenue and profit. Okay. Big one. Right. And that's it. But I want to share how not asking these key questions, I had wrote down some questions that I think that we should be asking our spouses when we are getting into business. Okay. So one of the questions is, how much are we willing to invest? Because a lot of people are like, oh, we got it. If it's in the bank, we can invest it. But when you don't sit down and have a strategy on what we are investing and you're just investing along the way, big, you're going to run into red flags. You cannot gamble because your family is counting on this too. Right. So you guys are both taking a risk by saying yes to this entrepreneurship journey. But if you don't know exactly the dollar amount, this is how much we're going to invest. If it goes over this, sorry. And then what are we investing?
Now, we definitely come from, we've made that mistake. We sold our house in California, moved to Georgia. We had the money from the house. We were supposed to
stick within a budget.
We were supposed to pay off our vehicles. And we ended up not doing it and took a risk on full diving and using the funds that we made off of the sale of our house and put it invested in ourselves, in our businesses. And I say businesses because
that's when we were not on the same page.
We were not on the same page. I had opened up a business, started a business, and she had her business, and I felt like because of what we were doing, I would start a media company and all this other stuff. So, and we didn't weigh out the risk. Had to sell my truck so that it wouldn't get repoed and things like that. And we'll go into deep dive on that in a different episode, but just want to let you know that we are coming from a place of we've been through it. Yeah. And we're still working through some of the things, but yeah.
When you don't ask that question, it's like you need, and that, let's say you set a budget, $10,000. That's all we are going to invest. We're not going to wipe out our savings. We're not going to wipe out our 401k, any of those things. When you do that, now kudos to those who do that. I'm just saying, like, we did it that way. It's a big lesson, and it affects, and that effect can last years, right? And so you have to really set the tone of what are you investing. And I think when you're starting in business, you have shiny person syndrome. And so everything that you're either listening online or you are, especially if you're building like an online business, there's so much information. You're on Google, you're constantly, because you're excited and you want to get this off the ground. But I think that you invest in the wrong things in the beginning, and you need clients. You need two skill sets that I think you need when starting a business is you need a skill set of how to sell and articulate that value that's coming in. That's one. The second skill set is you need to perfect your client journey, because if a client doesn't have a good experience with you, they're not going to refer anybody. Right. And so all of the shiny stuff, like we started like when we were starting our coaching business, we started raw, very raw. He bought fancy cameras and all this stuff because he just likes high tech stuff. He just likes tech. So we had a lot of stuff. Our house was set up perfectly for that. I had my own office. He had his own office. Everybody had their own rooms. It was enough space. We had a beautiful backyard. We lived in a great neighborhood. It was really, if we look back, it was like we pulled the trigger without really understanding that we were in an economic crisis too. Like the world was up in craziness. Everybody was leaving. But so I said all that to say is that we didn't count the costs.
No, we didn't. We didn't have, we really honestly did not have. And if you go back to one of our, maybe the first couple of episodes where we talk about writing a creed, a family creed.
Yes, and we'll put that in the description.
Right, and having a full family vision, I think that would have helped us a lot. And our mortgage was only $19 something a month.
You ain't getting no $1,900 mortgage now. Not in no California, you ain't getting that, and you ain't getting that anywhere.
You're not getting a house now.
No.
For no 370, what, 378?
Yeah. No. So with that being said, and we were in a beautiful area next to the wineries, we was in everything. Yeah. And at first, it took us a long time to grieve that. I grieved that for so long, and I did not, going back to one of our points, I did not communicate my fears when it came to that. So I assumed, okay, I'm gonna take the risk because I'm not much of a risk. Let me not say that, because I believe that there's life and death in what you speak. I am a risk taker. I picked up everything I knew from New York, everything that made me comfortable. But I also follow the leading of the Holy Spirit. And that was a little bit different, you know, but I wanted to entrust in my man that was my covering. And I took the risk. And I know that God honors that as well. But I moved to California not knowing a soul. In 1 year, my business boomed and it just kept growing. I never had a down year from there. So I'd seen God's goodness. So I was just like, oh, it's going to do the same. But because I was in a covenant, and the covenant, although our marriage was in position, our agreement
was not.
And the alignment and the vision that God had put, sometimes God will put it in your husband, and it's like, we shouldn't have made a decision until I was on board.
Right.
That's the difference. And I want to stress that very, very much to those who are watching, because just because somebody has a vision and the other person is not ready to pull the trigger, or, you know, it's not worth it. Right. God wants you to be in full alignment and full agreement. Even if I don't know. And what I mean by that is even if I didn't, I said yes, but I said yes, and I still was cursing the very thing that we were doing. Because yes, I said yes to him and to the decision, But sometimes if I talk to a family member or somebody, I was speaking against the very thing that we were building. I was speaking from a place of fear. And so when you're not even honest with yourself and how you're feeling, all I had to simply say is like, okay, I understand you want to take this risk, but this is all the things that I'm worried about. This is all the things that's concerning me. This is all of the things that, our finances, where we are. We were in a very good place. We were in such a place where we can be as generous. But I go back, and I don't know if you remember this, a word was spoken over him and I think it was in 2018. And they said we would go through a windy road, but don't give up until you get to the beauty.
Yeah, you know who you are.
Yes.
You spoke that over us.
No, God used him to speak that into us. And now sometimes like when when I feel like it's just like we just keep going tossing and turning and we're not getting anywhere. We are getting somewhere, but it's just the road is windy.
Or maybe this was the place to get us
to that beautiful place. So y'all be along the journey with us. So
we're finally on one.
Yeah.
Because I've been talking to you about this podcast for years.
Yes, he has. He's not going to let that down.
I'm not.
Every episode.
I'm probably going to say it every episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another question I think you guys should be asking. What happens if we don't make money for 6 months?
Okay. Yeah.
We ain't had that conversation either, y'all.
We didn't.
Nope. We sure enough didn't.
We didn't. We didn't have that conversation. We didn't say what was plan B, C, D, E. I feel, okay.
You don't like plan Bs.
I don't like plan Bs.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. But you also, in the military, you have different strategies, different plans, or you have to pivot
plans.
So yes.
So if the business is not profitable in 6 months or it's not bringing in income, that's a conversation. 6 months is a long time for a family to not be, for a business to not be making any capital.
Right.
Because then it's not a business yet. I believe it's still a business, even though you haven't seen the fruit of it. But if you planted seeds, if you think of a farmer, they plant seeds and they know when their harvest could come, but they still might not get a harvest. So I look at business that way as well. But there still should be a plan. So if the business is not making money in 6 months, what will we do? Even if you just have something.
Right.
And those are questions or those are conversation starters that people just do not have. Right. We didn't have it. We just was like, we gonna make this work. And though that's great, that's a problem.
That is a problem.
Right. So I think that's a really good question that we should have.
We should have asked.
We sure should have. We didn't do it. So we just giving it to y'all so y'all can do it. Okay. How will you pay yourselves fairly? Because once the business starts making money, then you need to start having the conversation. How much money are we taking in? Because here's the thing. If separately, and then a check. Yes.
You're paying each other separately.
Yes. A lot of people do not do that. They'll just say, oh, it's for our family. No. You're going to have certain roles in your business.
You are an employee of your business.
Absolutely.
So that's a good question.
Yes. So I definitely think that you need to figure out how you're going to pay, even if it's like, okay, in the beginning, when the business start making money, 10%. You take 10% and come up with that dollar amount. And here's the thing, like when you have a good 10%. I'm just making up a random number. I'm not saying
10% is not doing nothing.
No, that's not doing anything. But what I am saying is when you have a good accountant and you, let's say your role in the job is media production, just throwing out something random. You have to pay yourself fear of what that wages in your business. So your business revenue has to make sense for you to take a salary. But I think you need to articulate that between the two of you, because you guys are going to be doing the work in the beginning.
Right.
And are you guys clearly saying, okay, no salaries for the first year, or smaller salaries, like the low tier, so that we can reinvest back into the business?
Right.
That has to be very, very clear. Even if your business is making $0 today, set the foundation in the now.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're still kind of like working through, like, because we know how much revenue we want the business, the goal we want the business to hit. We know the profits we want to take home. We know the amount of freedom we want. Now it's that, how are we going to pay each other? So be very clear. These are just some questions to help you guys, but it's definitely just be clear of that. I think it's a very powerful question to ask. especially when it comes to the money. The money gets, when the money gets funny, it can easily spill over into your personal. So you definitely have to have these conversations. The money conversations are uncomfortable, but it is necessary.
It's necessary.
Because isn't like divorce rates? I don't even look it up. I should have statistics.
I don't really look up the divorce rates, and we'll get on my thing on divorces and
but I think
my expertise in divorce.
Yes. I think that I think it's like a popular, like most people divorce because of like money and communication.
I think it's money and finances.
Finances is a big one.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really important to have these conversations, because you are taking a leap of faith by starting something. And if you're following God too, sometimes his strategies look very different
than what the outside world looks.
Facts. And when it looks different, you are expecting, especially if you go into it, it's like, oh, I'm following God, but I want the ROI to look how the world looks. It's not going to be the same.
It's not going to be the same.
Never. So just be intentional with that conversation. And if you have other questions that you think would be a really good question, drop it in the chat. Help the other couples out, right? So another common mistake
drop it in the comments, not the chat.
Oh, drop it in the comments, chat. You know what I'm saying. Drop it down below. Another mistake that most couples make, and I don't know if we made this one, treating the business like a hobby instead of a real commitment.
Ooh, let's see.
You took everything serious.
I did.
Yeah, he's very serious. And so did I.
I don't think we had a problem with that.
But I have experience with a couple that, there's like, I don't like doing that. But that was the role they committed to.
Right.
So if you committed to that role, you need to be intentional with making it a priority.
Right.
And so that will frustrate the other spouse because you committed, you said out of your mouth that this is what you're going to do. You're responsible for this role. Then I want that role to be fulfilled.
Right. So the best thing for you guys to do is to pick roles that you enjoy doing as a hobby.
Facts.
Or that you
not even a hobby,
not even as a hobby,
what you're skilled at,
and that you enjoy doing it, because you can be skilled at a lot of things,
but don't enjoy it.
So it has to be something that, one, you're skilled at, or you might not be skilled at,
but you can learn
because you enjoy it.
Yes,
because I wasn't skilled at marketing, branding. It was just something, well, especially after, we'll get into all of that, but bringing someone in and then really taking a liking to it, but really figuring out where everything went wrong.
Yeah.
The mistakes that were made and how to market and stuff like that. It really intrigued me. And as more that I've read and learned, I was like, oh, I can do this. It's just enjoyable.
So you found the joy in from our problems that we were having. Right. He found the joy, which for me, I've never taken any job that, like, if I said I was going to do something, I was going to do it. And I kind of stayed maybe more in my comfort zone. This actually, what we're doing now, was more of my comfortable zone. Yeah. Like, I was fine doing business in real life with real people, but the online streets was like, kill me now.
And this podcast was kind of uncomfortable for you, because it's like, I don't know how you're going to act on camera. It's like, come on, like, I'm gonna embarrass us on camera, like, come on now.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it was so much of that. There was a lot of different reasons why I was reluctant, but just being online. Remember the first like coaching thing we ever went to, and it was like record and be on camera. I was horrible. Yeah, you were. It made me so uncomfortable.
I still got that video.
Yeah, I've watched it a couple of times. It was very uncomfortable for me. So now to get into this place, that makes a world of difference. But I definitely think for sure for myself, if I was going to do it, I wanted to be fully committed. Okay. And I think that a lot of couples, when they break up tasks, it's like, well, I had something else to do. I had this to do. This is your business. Right. And then another thing, a scripture that comes to mind, I'm probably going to botch it, so I'm not going to try to quote it. But it's like, if you're going to do it to the best of your ability. Like, do it as if you're doing it for God. If he was in there and he gave you that. So that's why I always say I'm trying to be like have self-integrity. So, and watch my words, because if I say I'm going to do something, I should be able to fulfill it, because then that puts me in the space of being a liar. And so if I'm not going to do it, then I'd rather just say, I'm not sure. Can I get back to you before I commit to anything? So I definitely think that.
I'll tell you real quick, I ain't doing something.
Yes, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Here's another part about like not like committing, right? Your key performance indicators. How do you guys determine where it's like, okay, where you're thriving or you're like, do we keep something like that? They call KPIs. So like they do that in corporate. Do you do that in your own business? Like with your spouse, it's like the websites are doing what they're doing. Have you, did the SEO, like how do we determine that?
That's a good question. I think, it depends, I guess.
Why would it depend?
I don't know.
I think if you're running a business, whatever your business is, like you always say, you think about the big picture. We know we don't want a bunch of employees, right? But we do want to build a good team. So if we end up building a team, it's about 7 to 10 people.
I don't know. With AI now, building a whole team of 7 people.
But I thought one of the things you wanted to do was provide jobs.
I do want to provide jobs.
Okay, I guess different type of job. I don't know. We're still wrapping this out. But how do you determine if
you have to have KPIs? You have to make sure.
But for your spouse, what that look like? Like, how do I say, babe, you're doing a wonderful job? Or how do I look at your performance? How do you look at my performance? What are we measuring? I think that in all businesses, you need to have that.
I don't know. That's a good question.
We're going to still map that out. Maybe we're going to discuss it. That's why I put it on the list. I'm like,
that's a good question. Oh, no, wait. That's a good question. Now you got my wheels spinning. How do you articulate whether or not your spouse is doing a good job or not?
I mean, I think when you have those meetings.
I mean, yeah, well, you can
do it then, but how do you measure it?
The tasks that they gotten done, whether or not if the tasks, giving each other tasks in the specific field or the roles that they are in, and then checking at the end of the week, coming together and checking at the end of the week to see what tasks have been completed. I guess you could do that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
I'll give you one. Like for content purposes, we've been saying for the longest, it needs to be scheduled out on whatever platform it's going to be. He likes to wait to the last minute. You have a project. I'm like, dude, just take one day, get out of the house, go downstairs, schedule it for the whole entire week, Monday through Friday. And then you just have your content blocks of like engagement. He will not do it. That's one task that I'm like, if you just do it, that frees you to just leave your brain space, because
it does. But I have the attention of like after sitting down for about an hour behind the computer, I don't want to sit down anymore.
I understand that. But if you map it out first.
I already know what my posts are.
Exactly. Okay. Ding, 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 ding. I know what my posts are. So if you know what they are, schedule them. I did it. I tested it out. And this is how I want to run everything. Because we use a certain platform.
Why you gotta throw me under the bus?
I'm not throwing you under the bus. I'm about to throw myself under the bus. I just did it. I think it was like last week. Last week. And a post went out, and I didn't even have the app on my phone. So a couple of posts went out, and I completely forgot about it because it was my Sunday. So on Monday I went on. I was like, oh my God, I have to engage, but I forgot about engagement. So don't do what I do. Engage. Because the algorithm, which I'm not doing everything for the algorithm, but I went to go back and engage. And I was like, this made my life easier, because I felt like, obviously the questions that were coming in, the DMs that came in, just the conversations that came in from it was very good, but that freed me. And I was like, ooh, I like that. I like that freedom that I had already put it out there, and we were doing something completely different. That's the beautiful thing about running an online business.
Okay. I
don't like to go by the seat of my pants, especially
I'm
now.
not going by the seat of my pants. I already kind of know what the posts are going to be like for my project. It's just a simple fact. There's not really enough. There's enough hours in the day. I just feel like with getting up, going to the gym, working out, coming home, eating breakfast, cooking, eating breakfast together, then recording our beautiful Vision for Us podcast, and then doing the things behind the scenes for that, and then by the time you get done with recording these episodes and things of that nature, boom, it's time to break the stuff down. It's time for the kids to come home. Then that time is spent with them, right? Mm-hmm. So then after that, it's our time.
Yeah.
So I'd like to wait until you end up, because you fall asleep in 2.5 seconds.
I do.
So, I mean, and then I just do it then. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
we're still mapping that out.
But there are some things like for the podcast, for the vision for us podcast, the stuff will be scheduled.
Yes. Oh, everything will be scheduled. So y'all should have lots of episodes.
Everything will be scheduled automatically. Our posts will be scheduled. Mm-hmm. Our blogs will be scheduled. So there are things that I believe.
There's things that you put a priority.
Right.
But the whole point of me bringing that up is like the KPIs. It's like whatever his task is are his task, and whatever my task is. Mm-hmm. Do not treat it like a hobby. Treat it like a business.
Right.
Because that you set the tone of whatever your business, whatever vision you have for your business as a couple, you are the foundation of what it looks like. Right. You don't have to know everything, but there's a certain synergy that needs to take place in order for it to grow and do what it needs to do.
Right.
But also you set the tone for what your kids are watching. Mm-hmm. Right? How committed you said you're going to do something, how committed you are, even if they're not around, just like, oh, you're keeping your word with those things. So I think that's a great way of keeping the standards really high.
Okay.
So my last and final point is not having a backup plan for conflict. Because conflict is going to happen no matter what you do or how nice and how sweet your marriage is. Conflict is coming, okay? You're not going to agree on certain things, or maybe even the direction or what investment you should make. Mm-hmm. And so what I mean is conflict resolution. If you know that one person does not operate, they need to talk right then and there. You guys got to figure that out before it, because if it spills over into you performing or doing a job together, whatever that looks like, if I came on here with a whole nasty attitude because we may have gotten into something, it will, I mean, I'm good at hiding my face. He's not.
I sure am not.
You know what he's feeling, what he's thinking, what his attitude, what vessel, what brain, all of that. He's gotten better. You've gotten a lot better.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Since we first got married, but he needs to discuss certain things, and I'm a processor. So
yeah, but you process.
He says days. I process too long.
Jesus,
because I process my emotions, right? Then I go to a logical, and then I go to Lord, if I'm wrong, show me my own log in my eyes. Show me, highlight those things. So sometimes it comes a little quicker, and sometimes it doesn't. He want me to have a process time of 30 minutes and get it together and then tell him everything. And then I try to be careful with my words, because depending on how the emotions are high.
Well, you should be careful with your words in general.
It ain't worth it.
Especially when you're talking to your spouse.
No.
It's not worth it.
Do you bring in a neutral party? Do you bring in a third party? Are you guys in therapy together? All of those things are very helpful. Mm-hmm. We are not in therapy, but we're not against therapy. No. At all. You went to therapy by yourself. I went to therapy by myself. We went when I was single, when he was, prior to us getting married, he didn't have a problem going to therapy. So he's not one of those don't believe in therapy, which is a great thing. So you guys have to discuss, what does your conflict resolution look like? Mm-hmm. Terrence and I are not arguers by nature in our relationship. Yeah. I'm not an arguer. I just don't, it's not my...
I think we only got in, a couple arguments?
Yeah, we can still count on a hand. Now, do we get on each other's nerves?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
Yes.
We do quite a bit. We are more snarky. I think that would be the thing. Yeah. Like a little bit more sarcastic. He says something, I say something, and it's like, and then we can kind of just go about it. But as far as
when our children do it to us.
Oh my God. And you watch them do it and you're like, I don't like that. Right? It's like Journey does it quite often. She's mastered all of our isms very well. Genesis just talks with authority. Mm. So he talks like his dad, and he goes like this when he's talking. Even when he's talking to me, I'm like, you better put them hands down. He's like, I'm talking about, yes. So he's a more authoritative, but I think you have to define what that looks like, because however you deal with it in your marriage, it's going to spill over into your business. Okay. So what does that look like? I think you got to be very, very clear of like, when we get into a problem that we cannot solve, then we're going to bring in this person. Do you guys believe in mentorship? Do you have mentors? That's also important. Or like, we have pastors that we sit under. And so we make decisions for our marriage, but we have had conversations with them that are very helpful. And they would just ask strategic questions. They are not there to like tell us what to do or how to do. They just ask really good questions to help us see the logs in our own eyes, or to get in our own way, or to communicate what we're truly, truly feeling. Right. And that makes a world of a difference, because sometimes you're like, well, I don't want to hurt the person's feelings, or whatever it could be. It's just, you have to figure out what that looks like. And so that's a plan for conflict. And I think that a lot of couples is like, we just gonna figure it out by ourselves. I'm not skilled enough to figure out a lot of stuff by myself. Right. So, and I think God puts certain people in your life to be another soundboard, to look from the outside in. And then you have to be very careful who you share your business with. But you want to walk in life, at least have someone that's going to give you a different perspective. Like, I know, for instance, I'm team marriage, and I think it's very easy for people to always want to leave, right? And when you're in the heat of the moment, you're like, I'm out of here. Where are you going? Where?
Well, the grass is not greener on the
other side. But it's just so easy. It's like the quitting is an easy result, because nobody wants to feel the pain, but you got to go through the fire and sometimes it's such a small thing, but you've masked it, or whatever the case may be. So I think it's truly important, if you want to have a thriving business, you're going to have conflict. You have to first say, we will have conflict. Right. The second thing is, you're definitely going to need a plan for how big, when the conflict happens, because you still have to operate, especially if you got clients. Yeah, you still got to serve them. So are you going to serve them with an attitude, or be like, I ain't talking to my husband, I'm not talking to my, you got to figure that out. Right. So figure out what kind of plan you're going to put in place to avoid these mistakes, because the mistakes are going to happen. And there's so many more. We just wanted to give you, kind of scratch the surface and get that conversation starting within you. You know, even if you've already started a business and you find yourself like, this sound like us, then now is the time to just have the conversation. So I thought those were very powerful mistakes to share with you guys. Some that we're still mapping out. But we want you guys to either figure that out, or we've already been through. I've already been through. So the goal is for you to not make these mistakes, do better, figure out how you're going to build your thriving business for your family and leave your legacy for your family. So I hope this episode was a good one. Drop your takeaways in the comments. Did I say comments or chat?
You said comments that time.
We would love to hear and read all of what you've gathered from this episode. Would you like to say anything last but not least?
No, not really.
Yes. Well, we'll see you guys on the next episode, and bye-bye.
Peace.